the world as it exists today.
Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news, breaking news.
Well, you didn't think I forgot about you, did you?
The Truman Show, released on June 5th, 1998, is an American satirical science fiction film directed by Peter Weir and written by Andrew Niccol. Starring Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank, the film became both a critical and commercial success, grossing $264 million worldwide and earning numerous award nominations, including 3 Academy Award nominations. On the surface, it's a clever satire about reality television and media manipulation. A man discovers his entire life has been a television show broadcast 24/7 to a global audience, that everyone he knows is an actor, and that he lives inside a massive dome controlled by a godlike producer. But what most viewers miss, and what scholars like Randall Verardi have documented in academic journals, is that The Truman Show is one of the most precise Gnostic allegories ever put to film, a nearly perfect cinematic translation of ancient Christian texts discovered at Nag Hammadi that describe reality as a prison created by a false god, humanity as divine beings trapped in ignorance, and awakening as the dangerous process of seeing through the illusion and escaping toward true freedom. Every major element of the film, Christoph as the demiurge, Sea Haven as the material world prison, Truman's glitches and suspicions as Gnosis beginning, Sylvia as Sophia calling from beyond the dome, and Truman's final crossing of water and ascent through the door as the soul's escape from archontic control, maps directly onto Gnostic cosmology with such precision that it's impossible to believe it's accidental. This isn't subtle symbolism open to interpretation. This is a deliberate, carefully constructed retelling of the Gnostic spiritual narrative for a modern audience. And once you understand the Gnostic framework, you can never watch the film the same way again. If you've never encountered the concept of the demiurge, it's central to Gnostic cosmology and essential to understanding this film. According to Gnostic texts like the Apocryphon of John and the Hypostasis of the Archons, the demiurge, sometimes called Yaldabaoth or Saklos, is a false god who created the material world. He's not the true transcendent god, but an ignorant, arrogant being who believes himself to be the only god and who fashioned the physical universe as a prison to trap divine sparks of consciousness within material bodies. The demiurge in Gnostic teaching is both powerful within his domain and fundamentally limited, unable to create true life or genuine freedom, only simulations and control systems that keep souls ignorant of their divine origin and potential for liberation. Christoph, played by Ed Harris, is a perfect cinematic representation of this figure. His name itself is a play on Christ plus of, suggesting a false Christ, a counterfeit deity. He's literally called the creator in the film. He designed Truman's entire world, controls the weather, orchestrates every aspect of Truman's existence, and speaks to Truman from the sky in the film's climactic scene, exactly as a god would. When Truman finally confronts him, Christoph says, "I am the creator of a television show." But within the dome, within Sea Haven, he is the creator. He made this world. He controls everything in it. He determines what Truman can know and cannot know. And crucially, like the Gnostic demiurge, Christoph believes his creation is good, that he's giving Truman a perfect life, that the prison is actually paradise. "There's no more truth out there than in my world," Christof tells Truman. This is the demiurge's fundamental delusion, believing that the limited created realm is all that exists, that there's nothing beyond it worth seeking. The Gnostic texts describe the demiurge declaring, "I am God, and there is no other," ignorant that the true transcendent God exists beyond the material cosmos he created. Christof makes the same claim about his constructed reality, insisting to Truman that the real world outside offers nothing better than Seahaven's controlled perfection. And like the demiurge who becomes violently defensive when humans threaten to escape his control, Christof literally tries to kill Truman with a manufactured storm when Truman attempts to sail beyond the dome's boundaries. The creator would rather destroy his creation than lose control over it. Seahaven Island, the idyllic small town where Truman lives, is a cinematic representation of what Gnostics called the kenoma, the deficiency, the inferior material realm, the prison of flesh and matter. On the surface, Seahaven appears perfect. Friendly neighbors, white picket fences, 1950s American dream aesthetics, constant sunshine, literally controlled by Christof. But beneath the perfect surface, it's entirely artificial, constructed, fake. Every person is an actor. Every interaction is scripted. The sky itself is painted. The sun and moon are mechanical lights on tracks. Nothing is real. Nothing is authentic. Everything exists to keep Truman contained, comfortable, and ignorant. The Gnostic texts describe the material world in strikingly similar terms, as a simulacrum, an imitation of true reality, a cosmic stage set designed by the demiurge to keep divine souls trapped in ignorance while believing they're free, and that this limited existence is all there is. The Gospel of Philip states, "The world came about through a mistake, for he who created it wanted to create it imperishable and immortal. He fell short of attaining his desire." Seahaven is exactly this, Christof's attempt to create a perfect, imperishable world that falls short because it's fundamentally artificial, fundamentally limited, fundamentally a prison despite its pleasant appearance. The dome itself, visible from space in the film, is the material boundary, the barrier that marks the edge of the demiurge's domain. In Gnostic cosmology, the material world has boundaries beyond which lie the higher realms of true spiritual reality, the pleroma. Souls trapped in matter must break through the firmament, the barrier separating the material from the spiritual, to escape back to their divine origin. Truman sailing to the edge of the dome and finding a physical wall with a door is a literal visualization of this Gnostic teaching. The material world has an Q edge, a boundary, and beyond it lies something the demiurge doesn't control. In Gnostic texts, the demiurge doesn't maintain control alone. He creates and employs the archons, rulers, authorities, beings who serve as prison guards, keeping souls trapped in ignorance and identification with the material world. The archons work by deception, by creating repetitive patterns, by keeping humans focused on base concerns, survival, desire, fear, status, that prevent spiritual awakening. They're described as having limited consciousness themselves, as being unable to truly understand spiritual reality, functioning more like programmed beings carrying out the demiurge's will to maintain imprisonment. Every actor in Seahaven functions precisely as an archon. Meryl, Truman's wife, Laura Linney, isn't his actual partner, but an actress playing a role, maintaining the illusion. And when Truman begins questioning reality, she desperately tries to keep him asleep through manufactured domesticity and literally advertising products to him mid-conversation, keeping him focused on material consumption rather than existential questions. Marlin, his best friend, Noah Emmerich, feeds Truman lines written by Christof designed to reassure him, to make him doubt his own perceptions, to keep him passive. When Truman asks Marlin if he's part of the setup, Marlin responds with Christof's scripted words, "The last thing I'd ever do is lie to you." I mean, think about it, Truman. If everybody is in on it, I'd have to be in on it too. This is archontic gaslighting, making the victim doubt their own emerging awareness by presenting false sincerity. The archons in Gnostic teaching maintain control not through obvious force, but through subtle manipulation, through keeping the soul comfortable enough not to rebel, while distracted enough never to awaken. Sea Haven's actors do exactly this. They create a pleasant, predictable life for Truman, but one carefully designed to keep him from ever questioning, from ever attempting to leave, from ever discovering his true nature and the reality beyond the dome. The film's inciting incidents, the stage light labeled Sirius falling from the sky, the rain shower that only falls on Truman, the radio frequency accidentally picking up Christof's crew coordinating Truman's movements, the glimpse of his supposedly dead father. These are what Gnostics would call the call, the moment when cracks appear in the material world's illusion and the soul begins to suspect something is wrong. In Gnostic texts, gnosis, knowledge, doesn't come all at once. It begins with dissonance, with things not adding up, with the feeling that something about consensus reality is fundamentally off. The Gospel of Truth describes this as, having become drunk, has turned away from his drunkenness, and having returned to himself. Truman's growing awareness operates exactly this way. He's been drunk on the illusion of Sea Haven his entire life, and the glitches, errors in the simulation, moments when the constructed reality breaks down, begin his process of returning to himself, of remembering he's not actually Truman Burbank, insurance salesman, but something else entirely, someone living in a prison whose walls he's never noticed before. The film brilliantly shows how gnosis is resisted not just externally by the archons, but internally by the victim. Truman doesn't immediately believe what he's seeing. He tries to rationalize the glitches, to fit them back into his normal worldview. This is what Gnostics call the spirit of ignorance, the internalized resistance to awakening that makes souls complicit in their own imprisonment. Even after overwhelming evidence, Truman hesitates, fears, considers that maybe Christof is right and the outside world holds nothing for him. The battle isn't just against external control, it's against the conditioned parts of himself that have learned to love the cage. Sylvia, played by Natasha McElhone, is the film's representation of Sophia, the divine feminine wisdom, who in Gnostic mythology descends into matter to awaken trapped souls and guide them toward liberation. In the film, Sylvia is the only person in Truman's life who tries to tell him the truth, who attempts to break him out of the illusion. She's not part of Christof's plan. She's an extra who goes off script, who risks everything to try to awaken Truman before she's forcibly removed from his life. After her removal, Sylvia becomes part of the Free Truman movement in the real world, working to end the show and liberate him. She represents the divine wisdom calling to the trapped soul from beyond the prison, reminding him of a reality and possibility he's forgotten. Her name itself, Sylvia, related to Silva, forest, wood, contrasts with the artificial, constructed space of Sea Haven, representing authentic nature versus manufactured simulation. In Gnostic texts, Sophia's role is to awaken the divine sparks trapped in matter by reminding them of their true origin. She calls to them across the boundary separating the pleroma from the material world. Sylvia functions identically. Even though she's removed from Sea Haven, her memory haunts Truman, pulls him, calls him toward the truth and toward escape. She's the presence from beyond the dome, reminding him there is something beyond, that the world Christoph controls isn't all that exists. Truman's escape attempt centers on overcoming his manufactured fear of water. Christoph deliberately created this phobia by staging Truman's father's death in a boating accident when Truman was a child. The trauma was designed to ensure Truman would never try to leave the island, that his own fear would serve as invisible bars more effective than physical walls. In Gnostic terms, this is how the Archons maintain control, through fear, through trauma, through conditioned responses that make the prisoner collaborate in their own imprisonment. The necessity of crossing water to escape has deep symbolic resonance in Gnostic and broader spiritual traditions. Water represents chaos, the unconscious, the boundary between states of being. To escape Sea Haven, to escape the material prison, Truman must face his deepest fear, must cross the boundary that terrifies him, must risk death. The boat's name is Santa Maria, the Holy Mother, suggesting rebirth imagery, to reach the other side. When Christoph unleashes the storm trying to kill him, Truman literally lashes himself to the mast and screams, "You're gonna have to kill me." This is the soul's defiant refusal to submit to the demiurge's control, the moment when the fear of remaining imprisoned becomes greater than the fear of destruction in attempting escape. The film's climax finds Truman's boat striking the dome's painted wall. He touches the false sky, discovering it's physical, artificial. He finds stairs, a door marked exit. This is one of cinema's most perfect visual metaphors for the Gnostic teaching about escaping the demiurge's realm. The material world has a literal edge. Beyond it lies something else, and there's a door, an exit, a way out for those brave enough to find it and walk through. Christoph makes his final appeal. "You can't leave, Truman. You belong here, with me. Talk to me. Say something." "Well, say something, goddammit. You're on television. You're live to the whole world." The demiurge demanding acknowledgement, demanding the soul recognize his authority, begging the escaping consciousness to stay in his control. And Truman's response is perfect. "In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night." He acknowledges Christoph only to dismiss him, using his signature TV phrase one final time before stepping through the door into the unknown, into the real world, into liberation from the only reality he's ever known. What makes The Truman Show a genuine Gnostic allegory, rather than just a film with Gnostic themes, is the precision of the mapping. This isn't loose symbolism. This is point-by-point correspondence between film elements and Gnostic cosmology. Christoph equals demiurge. Sea Haven equals Kanoma/material prison. Actors equals archons. Glitches equals gnosis beginning. Sylvia equals Sophia. Water crossing equals confronting fear. Dome edge equals boundary of material realm. Door equals exit from demiurge's domain. The film can be watched and enjoyed without knowing any of this, but once you understand the Gnostic framework, every scene gains additional depth. Every character interaction reveals the spiritual battle between imprisonment and liberation, between remaining comfortable in illusion and risking everything for truth. And here's what makes it relevant beyond cinema studies. The Gnostic reading suggests we're all Truman, that consensus reality itself might be a constructed prison we're born into and conditioned never to question, that the normal world might be as artificial and controlled as Sea Haven, and that awakening to this requires seeing glitches in the Matrix, listening to voices calling from beyond the system, confronting our conditioned fears, and being willing to walk through doors whose other side we can't see. The film works as allegory because it activates something people recognize, the feeling that something about modern life is fundamentally wrong, that we're trapped in systems we didn't choose and can't see clearly, that liberation would require leaving behind everything familiar and comfortable to pursue a truth we can't yet fully grasp. Scholars have noted the parallel to Plato's Cave. The 2022 Cannes Film Festival website explicitly described the film as a modern reflection of Plato's Cave, which itself is a proto-Gnostic allegory about prisoners mistaking shadows for reality. But The Truman Show goes further than Plato by showing the creator of the cave, by naming him Christoph, false Christ, by having him speak from the sky claiming to offer protection and love while actually maintaining a prison, and by showing the prisoner not just escaping, but recognizing and rejecting the false god's final manipulative appeal. Whether writer Andrew Niccol and director Peter Weir consciously intended all these Gnostic parallels, or whether they emerged from the archetypal depths of the story itself, the result is the same. A film that translates ancient spiritual wisdom into modern cinematic language, making Gnostic teachings about the demiurge, archons, Sophia, and the soul's escape from material imprisonment accessible to millions who would never read the Nag Hammadi texts, but who recognize Truman's journey as somehow reflecting their own. That's what makes it not just good cinema, but genuine allegory. It tells a story that's simultaneously about one man discovering his life is a TV show, and about every human soul discovering the world is a prison, and liberation requires the courage to walk through the door into the unknown, leaving the false creator behind, no matter how loudly he calls you back.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
In 1998, Hollywood released what most people thought was a quirky Jim Carrey comedy. But The Truman Show contains layer upon layer of esoteric symbolism, specifically Gnostic philosophy and initiation into the ancient mystery schools. Whether you view these traditions as ancient wisdom or something more sinister, the symbols are undeniably there, and they're worth examining. Truman's awakening begins when a star labeled Sirius falls from the sky between two pillars. Then there's the dome, the staircase, the all-seeing eye, and the grand architect. One of the Rothschilds was even a producer on the film. So the question is, what message is being encoded here, and why? First, we need to understand Gnosticism. Gnosticism is an ancient belief system, one that is largely rejected by Christianity as heretical. In Gnostic cosmology, the material world isn't created by the true God. Instead, it's a prison created by a false deity called the demiurge. According to this belief, the demiurge traps divine souls in matter, keeping them ignorant through deception and control. He rules through beings called archons, described as gatekeepers and deceivers. Many people view this as an inversion of Christianity, essentially Luciferianism, one that makes the serpent the hero who brings knowledge against a false god. Freemasonry and the ancient mystery schools are built on Gnostic principles. They view Gnosticism as the path to enlightenment. The entire structure of Masonic degrees is about ascending from ignorance to knowledge, from darkness to light, from the profane to the sacred, through gnosis, which means knowledge. In these traditions, the initiated few possess secret knowledge that the masses don't have. The uninitiated live in ignorance, controlled by false narratives and false gods. Only through initiation and the gaining of gnosis can one become enlightened and escape the prison of ordinary reality. And this is the teaching that the Truman Show hides in plain sight. Let's start with where he lives, Sea Haven, or Sea Heaven, a fabricated dome world. He's kept ignorant of true reality. In Gnostic terms, he represents the divine spark trapped in matter. Christoph, meaning of Christ, sits in a lunar command center, controlling everything like a god. He believes he's benevolent and is giving Truman a chance to live a good life. In Gnostic teachings, the demiurge also believes his prison is paradise. Sylvia represents Sophia, the divine wisdom in Gnostic texts. She's the one trying to wake Truman up, breaking the rules to tell him that his world isn't real and he has to get out. Then there's Marlin, his best friend who appears with beer every time Truman questions reality. In Gnosticism, the archons use intoxication and distraction to keep souls asleep and compliant. But this is also commentary on our own reality. How often do people use substances, entertainment, social media, or other vices to stay sedated and comfortable, to avoid asking uncomfortable questions, to take the edge off when reality starts feeling wrong? The film works on multiple layers and will be peeling them all back, because the deeper you look, the more layers you find. The film also mirrors Plato's allegory of the cave, a philosophical teaching from ancient Greece. Prisoners chained in a cave, watching shadows, believing that's reality. One breaks free and discovers the sun, the source of truth. Sea Haven is the cave. Truman's journey to break through the dome is the journey from illusion to reality. Then there's the audience. We're prisoners watching the prisoner. The film is commenting on our own imprisonment in constructed realities, media, entertainment, and cultural programming. Truman's initiation into so-called enlightenment begins with Sirius falling from the sky. And where does it fall? In between two pillars. In Freemasonry, two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, stand at the entrance of every lodge. They represent the gateway between the profane world and the sacred. They symbolize duality, strength and establishment, masculine and feminine, light and darkness. They view them as the portal between two states of consciousness, and to be initiated, you must pass between them. If you watch the film closely, you'll see Truman is constantly framed standing between these two pillars. Look at the entryway every time he leaves his house. And what else is there? The number 36. This is significant in occult numerology because the sum of all numbers from 1 to 36 equals 666, the number associated with material bondage, the beast, and the demiurge's control over matter. When Sirius falls from the sky between the two pillars, it's a signal that the initiation has officially begun, and of course it's no coincidence that it's marked with that name. Sirius is the brightest star in the night sky, and it's very important in occult traditions. It's associated with Lucifer, or as they call him, the light bearer. In these teachings, he isn't viewed as evil, but as the bringer of enlightenment, the rebel angel who brought gnosis to humanity against the demiurge's wishes. Sirius, the light bearer, also known as Lucifer, penetrates the demiurge's false dome to bring the forbidden knowledge and spark of enlightenment to Truman, otherwise known as the true man. In esoteric philosophy, the true man represents the enlightened human who has realized their divine nature. Most people, according to these traditions, are false men, asleep, ignorant, controlled by the material world and their base desires. The true man is the one who achieves gnosis. And his last name? Burbank, as in Burbank, California, the entertainment capital, where studios create fictional realities. True man from the place where false realities are manufactured. Truman, before he is quote-unquote enlightened, also represents the rough ashlar. That is what Freemasons call the uninitiated man, an unpolished stone. Truman begins unconscious, unaware, and asleep. He's raw material that will be refined. Freemasonry takes its core metaphor from literal stone masonry. The ancient stonemasons would take rough, uncut stone, the ashlar, and through careful work transform it into a perfect cube, a polished stone fit for building temples. This became the spiritual metaphor. The uninitiated human is rough, unrefined, chaotic. Through the process of initiation, through gaining secret knowledge and passing through degrees, the rough stone is carved, shaped, and polished into the perfect cube, the enlightened master. And who does the shaping? The architect, the master builder, the one who has the sacred knowledge of geometry and design. In Gnostic terms, Truman is being guided by the grand architect of the universe, rather than Christoph, the one pretending to be the architect. That's one of the many reasons the G is so prominent in Freemasonic symbolism. Officially, Masons say the G stands for God, Geometry, or the Grand Architect of the Universe. But in higher degrees and esoteric interpretations, that same G is said to represent Gnosis, the generative principle, or the goat, otherwise known as the Baphomet. The G becomes a symbol with layers, different meanings for different levels of initiation. What you're told it means as an apprentice is not what it means to a 33rd degree Mason. Another symbol used in The Truman Show is one we have all become much too familiar with, the all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, the cameras, the moon control room, the eye that sees all and knows all. It's the eye of Horus from ancient Egypt. It's the third eye of enlightenment, the pineal gland. It's the eye that looks at you through your phone's camera. And of course, what appears on the back of the dollar bill. Truman only achieves freedom when he looks directly into the camera, into the all-seeing eye, and then turns his back on it. He acknowledges the eye and then rejects its authority. And then there's the chamber of reflection. Before Masonic initiation, candidates are placed in a dark room to meditate on death. Truman's basement, where he pieces together clues in darkness, functions as this chamber. The initiate must undergo symbolic death, facing their greatest fear. Truman's programmed fear is water. His father's staged drowning was created to keep him imprisoned. And what must he do to escape? Sail into Christoph's storm and experience the drowning he was programmed to fear, a symbolic death and rebirth. In esoteric symbolism, water represents consciousness itself. Truman is surrounded by water on all sides. Sea Haven is an island. He's literally surrounded by consciousness he's too afraid to enter. And when he emerges from the water after nearly drowning, he's been baptized into the ancient mystery school. He's been reborn through immersion in consciousness. He's drowned his old programmed self and emerged as someone who's seen through the illusion. After his baptism into the mystery schools, he ascends the Freemasonic staircase of enlightenment. There's 16 total steps, but they are reflected in the water below. As above, so below. And that makes it 32 steps, with his final step out of the door being the 33rd. He's officially been illuminated. But the film doesn't just use Gnostic and Masonic symbolism. It deliberately uses Christian imagery and inverts it. Some would argue this is a mockery of Christianity itself. In Christian theology, Adam and Eve's desire for the forbidden fruit is the reason humanity falls from grace. But in the film, Truman's desire for forbidden knowledge is portrayed as heroic. It's his salvation. Truman rejects Christoph the Christ to pursue Gnosis. After the storm, he walks on water to the dome's edge. At the top of the stairs, he spreads his arms out in the crucifix pose. Death, resurrection, ascension. It's using the visual language of Christ's passion, crucifixion, walking on water, resurrection, ascension, but applying it to someone who is, in the Gnostic view, rejecting the biblical God and embracing the serpent's wisdom. But there's one more layer we need to talk about. You, the audience. Throughout the entire film, we're not just watching Truman. We're watching the people who have watched him since birth. They know him better than they know their own family members. And they never question if this is right. They're complicit, they're entertained, they're addicted. And after he finally walks through the door, the only question they ask is,
What else is on?
Yeah, let's do what else.
Where's the TV guy?
they don't question their own reality. They don't wonder if they're also being watched, controlled, manipulated. They don't examine their own lives. They just flip the channel. The film is holding up a mirror to us. We are those people in the bar. We are the audience consuming, watching, staying entertained while people's lives are controlled and commodified. We are the ones who witness truth and immediately look for the next distraction. The film was released in 1998, before smartphones, before Instagram, before TikTok, before Black Mirror, and it predicted exactly where we'd end up. A society of watchers, complicit in surveillance culture, addicted to the spectacle, choosing entertainment over examination. Whatever interpretation you choose, whether you see this as Enlightenment symbolism, Christian inversion, or something darker, is ultimately up to you. But there's even more layers when you go behind the scenes. After The Truman Show, Jim Carrey didn't just talk about esoteric philosophy, he openly displayed it.
Did you know that the zombie apocalypse has occurred? This is what people are mistaken about. There's all people talking about the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
You're the fucking zombies.
Oh, the cell
You know
phone
that?
zombies.
This is the fucking
Yeah.
zombie.
Are
This is
we?
the
Are
fucking
you?
zombie
Cell phone
apocalypse,
zombies,
man.
yeah. Wait, are you?
I am too. I'm one of the
I
fucking
am.
zombies, man. Do you know about alchemical sexual alchemy?
Sexual alchemy.
Yeah.
I know alchemy.
We're talking about tantra.
I made a lot of money on alchemy in the
Do you
early
know that
70s.
do you know that the story of Jesus, how it's been altered in certain ways? I mean, yes, there was a guy, yes, there was teachings, all that stuff. But
No,
the Bible,
there wasn't only just a God.
no, well, okay. All right.
Let's not reduce it.
Well, he's not even that, actually. No,
He might.
Christ consciousness
Yes.
is something
Yes, it is.
that, yeah, he was aware
out
of.
there,
Yeah. And so, you know, but the parallel between that and alchemical sex is that...
I'm sorry, alchemicals? What is it? Alchemical, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Alchemy, sexual
Yes.
alchemy is, there's 33 vertebrae in your spine. There's 33 years in the life of Jesus.
Christ.
Okay? And what it is...
So far, it sounds like a coincidence. I got
Okay, it could be a coincidence. But there is a substance or liquid or you know, a substance that comes from your medulla, which is basically completely looks like the Ark of the Covenant. Has angels' wings around it, the whole thing. Your medulla is shaking.
Now, is this what Michael Jackson used to call Jesus juice?
Yeah. No, not the same. Not the same. It won't get the kids into
Oh,
the
it doesn't
bedroom.
get the good.
No.
Then
no,
what
this-
good is it? No,
So this substance comes from your medulla, makes the trip down your spine to your sacrum, which is
quick, get a dictionary.
Christ coming down into human form.
Yeah.
And if you don't squander that essence, that sexual essence, it ascends again and goes back up to heaven, which is your thing. It's also the story of Santa Claus. Why he comes down the chimney is because this juice or this whatever substance actually passes what's called the claustrum, which is where they got Santa Claus. So it goes down the chimney and back up the chimney. It's all very freaky shit. So
you believe without a doubt, if Jesus had existed in the form
I believe
given,
that
he
its
was a
best-
sexual being?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh.
I think he probably saved it, you know, so that he could be clear, so that he could be sharp.
I forgot what we were talking about. You must
We're talking
remember.
about sexual alchemy.
Yeah, sexual
You know what
alchemy.
Gnosticism is really about?
I was telling you about running around the 800 meters. And if this has anything to do, if this...
Gnosticism.
If I could...
I'll jump
Because
in.
I have trouble relating this sexual alchemy.
It's not surprising that the star of this Gnostic Masonic initiation film has spent decades publicly displaying occult hand gestures and discussing esoteric philosophy that aligns exactly with what's revealed in the movie. So what is The Truman Show really all about? On the surface, media satire about reality TV. Beneath that, a film that follows a man through a Freemasonic initiation ritual, containing layer upon layer of esoteric symbolism. Are these symbols meant to awaken, to deceive, to mock, to program? I don't have all the answers, but I can show you what's there. Stay discerning, question what you consume, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it, the real world. And if you want to survive it, you better learn to pull the trigger.
He ain't lying.